and be able to make it to the 200,000+ mile mark with proper care and maintenance. Hey everyone, Jake from 8020 Automotive here. Today we're going to be talking about common problems with the third generation EA888 Volkswagen engine. The third gen EA888 is a 2-liter turbocharged inline 4. There were a number of updates to the third generation over the first and second generations, which ultimately significantly improved the reliability of these engines. The first and second generations were known to experience timing chain failures, predominantly caused by the timing chain tensioner, and the second generations especially were very prone to excessive oil consumption. There were a number of redesigns and changes with this third generation that ultimately fixed those problems and made this a significantly more reliable engine. At the end of the day, the third generation EA888 does not have a whole lot of problems with the engine itself. Most of the issues that we're going to talk about here on our list tend to be issues with ancillary systems and things that really only tend to go bad once you start getting to high mileage levels on these engines. And so the third generation was a significant reliability upgrade, and these engines are known to be strong and reliable and be able to make it to the 200,000+ mile mark with proper care and maintenance. With that being said, let's go ahead and jump into the list of the most common problems with the third generation EA888. First issue on our list is with the water pump slash the thermostat housing. The water pump and thermostat housing are made of plastic, and so with all of the heat that it's subject to where it's located in the engine bay, it's common for this to fail, develop cracks, and to cause coolant leaks. Ultimately, there was a revised OEM upgrade for this, and so generally you're likely to experience failure of this probably once, and then once you replace it with the reinforced OEM unit, this likely isn't to be an issue again. But failure of the thermostat housing and water pump are known to occur generally around the maybe 80,000 mile mark or so. This is an issue that develops early on, but like I mentioned, once you fix it with the upgraded unit, it generally tends to not be a problem again. Second on our list is PCV valve failure. The PCV diaphragm and the internal valve tend to fail or get clogged up, and what that does is lead to a number of issues like rough idling, excessive oil consumption. It's also going to increase crankcase pressures, which is going to result in more carbon buildup. It's also possible to get boost related codes and to get lean codes. So ultimately, a bad PCV valve can cause a number of issues on these engines, and again, this has to do with the factory design of the PCV valve, but just like the water pump and thermostat housing, there is an upgraded OEM unit. Generally, once you replace the PCV valve with the upgraded unit, this tends to not be a problem. Third on our list is going to be carbon buildup. This is a turbocharged direct injected engine, and so carbon buildup is just one of the natural things that occurs because of this type of engine design. Now, there were a handful of variants of the EA888 that do have both port injection and direct injection. If you have one of the port and direct injected versions of this engine, then carbon buildup is not going to be an issue for you because the port injection will help clean out the intake valves. So this is an issue on direct injected only engines, and is just something that naturally comes with owning a direct injected turbocharged engine. There are some claims online that carbon buildup is excessive on these engines. I wouldn't say that it's any more excessive than what you see on other turbocharged direct injected vehicles, but it is always a good thing to inspect the intake valves and clean out all the carbon buildup every 80 to 100,000 miles or so, just because once you start hitting that mileage level, you're going to have enough carbon buildup in there to where it's going to start restricting airflow into the cylinders, and ultimately that's going to affect performance and make your car feel a little bit more sluggish, although it's typically tough to notice that because the carbon buildup happens very slowly over time, and so you get just a very gradual decrease in performance versus something that's immediately noticeable. Fourth on our list is issues with the turbocharger wastegate actuator. These engines are known to experience what's called wastegate rattle, and that's what happens when the actuator arm starts to get a little bit of play in the linkage, and it creates a rattling noise, which you generally can hear when you're putting your foot down on the floor power, and the turbocharger is trying to create a lot of boost pressure. This is going to be something that's more common on tuned engines and then really on high mileage engines. I would say you're not likely to run into any wastegate actuator issues until you get closer to the 150,000 mile mark, and this generally just has to do with the turbocharger itself and I would say general lifespan of a turbocharger. Most turbochargers are not built to be 300,000+ mile components because they're subject to a lot of heat and they do a very important job in the engine, so there is some natural wear and tear that occurs with them. Ultimately, that's what happens and what causes the wastegate actuator to start rattling. So this is something that really doesn't have to be fixed if you don't want it to. You are going to start to notice that you're getting decreased performance out of your turbocharger, but you can still continue to drive with the wastegate rattle there if it doesn't bother you. You're just not going to be running at 100% from a power and performance standpoint. Fifth on our list is going to be oil leaks. The most common places to develop oil leaks on this are from the upper timing cover and from the cam bridge. This is also an issue that tends to develop at higher mileage levels. Neither of these issues are catastrophic, but of course with any oil leak in any vehicle, you'll definitely want to get those fixed to make sure you're not seeping oil and ultimately end up running low on oil. So this is something to just be aware of once you start getting to those higher mileage levels, and again is a very common thing to experience on turbocharged engines. And then the last thing on our list is the ignition coils and the spark plugs, which I think deserves a spot on the list of every Volkswagen or Audi engine common problem list. The spark plugs and ignition coils are just known to wear down a little bit more quickly than you would expect them to or see them to on naturally aspirated engines. And so these are of course a maintenance item. It's just more so a reminder or a heads up that they do need to be replaced and changed a bit more frequently than you would have to deal with on most other vehicles and engines. And that really covers it for our list of problems with these engines. There are a few things out there online that I think are a little bit overblown and things that aren't necessarily issues with these engines that some people do talk about. Like I mentioned with the excessive oil consumption, that's something that was largely fixed with these third gens. If you are experiencing it, it probably has something to do with the PCV valve. Another thing you'll see is rod failure at stock power levels. This is not a problem. It's not common. Yes, it's something that has occurred in very limited cases, but ultimately isn't an issue or a reliability concern on these engines. And same goes for timing chain issues or timing chain tensioner problems. There of course are going to be a handful of Gen 3s that have experienced it naturally, but it's not something common, not something that's a big issue on these engines. So ultimately there are a few things out there that might make these engines sound worse than they are. My comment to all of that is going to be these are generally very reliable engines. You're going to mostly experience maintenance related issues with them, and as with any engine that is massively produced, you're going to have your handful of unique cases where something serious does go wrong, but it's not an overall issue with these Gen 3 engines. Like I mentioned, the majority of the problems and big issues with the first and second generations were addressed and fixed in this. So ultimately, I give these engines a very good rating from a reliability standpoint. And that covers it for our video on common problems with the third generation EA888. If you guys appreciate this video, please click the like button, subscribe to our channel, and stay tuned as I'll cover both the first and second generations separately here soon.